Hey, I'm Keighran, and we are sitting inside Linear Recording Studios in Leichhardt. I became a sound engineer because I just joined the band that I play for, Wolf and Cub, and at the time I wanted to sort of advance my songwriting ability, and I thought that learning how to record bands and like a demo for myself was going to help me along the way, and it really did. And then when I joined Wolf and Cub, at the same time I kind of found myself unemployed and there was a whole lot of work opportunities going at Big Jesus Burger Studios in Surrey Hills, which is where I started. And I knew everyone there and I was just always hanging out there, and so finally they were just like, okay, you work here now, instead of you're just hanging out here now. And that was it. And then I was just sort of flying, free-falling until I've learned actually exactly what I was doing. But I just learned on the job there. And then I came here because BJB closed down, and it was one of those stars aligning weird moments where, like, the day I was moving into my house up the road, I get a call from Chris and he's like, oh look, I got your number from a friend of a friend. I need someone for a session, and I heard that you know what you're doing, can you come in? Do you know where Leichhardt is? Do you know where the... And I was like, dude, I'm carrying a fridge inside my new house in Leichhardt. Like, I moved around the corner the day that I moved there. I don't feel like there's much difference between recording Wolf and Cub and recording another band. Like, I probably put the same amount of effort and time and everything into it that I would. I guess the only difference would be that I can sort of get more inside the head of the artist, you know, because I kind of, it's me and my best friend. Whereas if I don't know someone and they're just walking into the studio, it's a little hard to get their personality on record. But other than that, I think it helps me knowing what it's like to be on the other side of the glass, like being a musician. For mixing and tracking, I'd like ideally a day per track, per part of the process. So, I can record a whole song in one day and I can mix a whole song in one day. But rarely do you get that opportunity to have all of them. Bands can't afford it. So, and I know what it's like as well. And so a lot of the time these days we get, 3 or 4, 5 songs in one day to track, and we've got to kind of move fast and keep it live and limit your overdubs and just get it right, and the band has to be really super prepared for that. And I can, I've done tracks where I've mixed 4 or 5 songs in one day, but it's never as good as if I can sort of really like get right in on it, and I can get into it more and have a good time if I've only got 1 song per day to mix. But in saying that, it's different for every record, and I can do whatever it takes. I'll probably do it even if I'm here till like 2 in the morning or something. I spend a lot of time using the thermionic culture vulture, which is like a tube distortion unit, and I don't know, it's just one of those things. I mean, I love distortion anyway, but it's not like I'm not like using it to clean, like make something clean a bit dirtier or uglier. It's like even you can just excite something with it. I spend a lot of time just like going to that, especially in mixdown. Like you can just send heaps of stuff to it and blend it in. It sounds really cool. I can't really live without like our converters and stuff like that, obviously, but that's like my favourite piece of gear. I don't really have any luck with like recording techniques. If like you hear those like the Glyn Johns technique and all that, I don't really know much about them. Like I just sort of stick mics where I think it's going to sound good, and if it doesn't, I move it. 90% of the sessions that come to Linear are done on the 16-track tape machine, and then as the band's listening back, we're flying it into tools. So we're constantly sort of chopping between analog and digital. There's benefits to both, and I use everything, and I don't know. The workflow in the digital world is obviously heaps better and heaps quicker, but I don't know. Like I find that with our tape machine system, like the way the patch system and everything, like I don't really have to change anything, so it doesn't feel any slower to me. So we kind of just do it straight off the cuff like that. I guess I'm constantly like tipping my hat to guys like Josh Homme and Queens of Stone Age, the way they do their records, where it's, you know, the production is based on like creating worlds for the songs to live in or something, rather than, you know, making it sound as good as it can or something. You know, like I'm all about creating moods, and those records seem to have the coolest moods and feelings. So I really like, yeah, Josh Homme as a producer, and I'm pretty sure he does a lot of engineering and stuff as well. And I'm fully inspired by like my friends as well. So like Burke Reed was a huge influence on when I first started, because he kind of came from the same place as me. He was in a band, and then the band ended, and he found himself like, what am I going to do? I've got to. So he went into engineering, and he kind of paved the way for me. He was like about 5 years earlier than me doing it, and I feel like I'm always like just 5 years behind him. Even when I start running to catch up with him, I feel like he's already been running for 5 years. I constantly look into a guy like that, and he ended up mixing the Wolf and Cub record, and I think he did a great job. The challenges for me, fitting everything into a day. Like I feel like there's not enough hours in the day to do everything that I want to do. Like my brain seems to move faster than my hands can move, and so, you know, and keeping up with constantly changing technologies and things. Like I'm really quite young in this whole thing, and I don't really know enough about all that stuff. So I'm fortunate that I'm here, because I get to play with a lot of all this stuff and learn it all. So it's like, for me, a challenge is knowing my gear and really knowing what each part does. And if a band was coming here and I get to talk to them beforehand, which I always try and do, I would just say be as prepared as possible, and you know, just be rehearsed and know kind of what you want, because I can only work with what they kind of bring to me a lot of the time. You know, if they've got heaps of songs to be doing, I want the drummer to be fit enough to do all the songs in one day. Like these guys come in and they can't play all day, and so I want them to be prepared to have to go into the, you know, like a lot of guys they have a strict, like, okay, we want to do this on the first day, we want to do this on the second day, we want to do this on the third day, and I'm like, throw all that out the window if you guys aren't prepared. So I always try and say, like, not pre-production or whatever, just be, you know, rehearse and play together a lot and whatever. And my advice for young engineers would be, it's not as dire as old people are saying it is. Because like, people are getting really apocalyptic out there about the music industry, you know what I mean? And it's, you know, about people are worried about making money out of records and all that kind of stuff, but it's never stopped. If it's in you and you want it heaps badly, you'll do it, and it doesn't really matter. And I would not, I'm not making a killing, but I'm not hating it either, and I can't stop, so it's there to be had, I think.